Hey guys, tonight we are stepping back into the warmth of a world that feels both impossibly old and strangely familiar. Imagine the sun pressing against your skin, a heavy, golden heat that smells of salt from the Mediterranean, and the dry, sweet scent of papyrus drying in the wind. You feel the grit of fine desert sand between your toes as you walk along a wide, white road made of smooth marble that reflects the light of a midday sun. You probably believe that vending machines are a modern annoyance, born of fluorescent, lit break rooms and the desperate need for a mid-afternoon candy bar. You might think they started with the Industrial Revolution, with gears and steam and the suit of Victorian London. But the truth is much older, hiding in the shadows of marble columns and the quiet halls of ancient temples, where the air is cool and the light is soft. Before you get too comfortable and possibly fall asleep halfway through, tap like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this odd mix of boredom and history. It keeps the channel alive and the stories just sleepy enough to help you drift off again next time. If you feel like it, leave a comment with where you are listening from and what time it is for you. Is it a rainy midnight where you are? Or perhaps a quiet morning with the first light of day peeking through your curtains? Now, dim the lights, let the world outside grow quiet, and turn on a fan if you like that soft, steady hum in the background. Let your shoulders loosen and your breathing slow. This is your time to drift. No rush, no deadlines, no noise. Just you, a little warmth in the air, and the faint whisper of history waiting to unfold. So, settle in, and let's ease gently into tonight's journey together. You find yourself standing at the edge of the great harbor of Alexandria. The year is sometime in the 1st century, a time when the world feels vast and full of secrets. The water of the Mediterranean is a deep, shimmering blue, moving in slow, rhythmic waves that lap against the stone piers with a soft, repetitive sound. You watch the ships with their tall masts and white sails coming in from distant lands, carrying spices, silks, and stories. The air is thick with the smell of the sea, a mix of salt and damp wood, and the distant, faint aroma of roasting meat from a nearby market. You take a slow breath, feeling the humidity settle in your lungs, and you begin to walk. Your sandals make a soft, rhythmic sound on the stone, a steady beat that matches the calm pace of your heart. To your left, the great lighthouse of Alexandria rises into the sky, a massive tower of white stone that looks like a giant reaching for the clouds. It is one of the wonders of the world, and even from here, you can feel its presence, a solid and ancient guardian of the coast. You imagine the fire burning at its peak, a bright light that guides travelers home through the dark of the night. It is a world of incredible engineering, a place where people dream of making the impossible real. You pass by groups of people dressed in linen robes, their voices a low, unintelligible murmur that blends into the background like the hum of a distant hive. The city is a grid of wide streets and hidden alleys, and as you turn away from the water, the heat of the sun becomes more intense. You seek the shade of the tall buildings, where the air is a few degrees cooler and the light turns a soft, dusty gray. In this city, knowledge is the greatest treasure. You think about the great library nearby, with its thousands of scrolls containing the wisdom of the world. It is a place where scholars spend their lives studying the stars, the earth, and the way things work. You realize that the ancient Egyptians were great thinkers, though their wireless internet was admittedly quite terrible. You continue your walk, moving deeper into the heart of the city, toward a place where religion and science begin to blur together. As you walk, you think about a man named Hero, or Heron, as some call him. He is a teacher at the Museum, the great house of the Muses, and his mind is a whirlwind of gears and levers. Hero is the kind of person who looks at a simple problem and finds a solution that seems like magic to everyone else. He is often called the father of robotics because of his automated machines that can move and act on their own. You imagine him in his workshop, surrounded by copper pipes, bronze basins, and the smell of hot metal and oil. He is a man who understands the hidden power of air, water, and steam. Historians still argue whether Hero's designs were actually widely used or just remained as blueprints for his students to admire in their quiet classrooms. You are heading toward one of the many temples that dot the city. These temples are grand structures of stone and gold, places where the gods are honored with incense and prayer. But they are also places where many people gather and where the priests have a very specific problem. You see, the temple provides holy water for the faithful to wash their hands and faces before they enter the sacred space. However, people are sometimes a bit too enthusiastic. They take more than their fair share, leaving the basins empty and the priests frustrated. It is the ancient version of taking way too many napkins from a fast food restaurant when you only bought a small fry. The priests need a way to ensure that everyone gets just enough water and no more. You reach the entrance of the temple, where the transition from the bright, hot street to the dim interior is sudden and refreshing. The air inside is still and smells of sandalwood and old stone. Your eyes adjust to the low light, seeing the tall columns that disappear into the shadows above. There, sitting on a stone pedestal, is a large, ornate bronze vessel. It looks like a giant vase, decorated with carvings of gods and flowing patterns. It is heavy and solid, a silent guardian of the water within. You reach into a small pouch at your side and pull out a bronze coin. It is heavy in your hand, its edges worn smooth by the touch of many fingers. You feel the cool metal against your palm, a small piece of currency that holds the potential for a minor miracle. You step closer to the bronze vessel. At the top, there is a narrow slit, just wide enough for your coin. This is the moment where the genius of Hero of Alexandria becomes real. You are not just standing in front of a bowl of water. You are standing in front of the world's first vending machine. You hold the coin over the slot, feeling the anticipation of a simple mechanical act. The silence of the temple is deep, broken only by the sound of your own breathing. You drop the coin into the slot. You hear the sound of the metal coin hitting a flat surface inside the machine, followed by a soft, mechanical movement. Inside the vessel, the coin has landed on a small metal tray. This tray is attached to a balance beam, like a seesaw. The weight of your bronze coin is just enough to tip the beam. As the beam tips, it lifts a plug or a valve at the other end, which is connected to a container of water. For a few seconds, the water flows out of a small spout at the front of the vessel. You hold your hands under the cool stream, feeling the liquid wash over your skin. It is refreshing and clean, a small gift from the machine. But then, as the coin slides off the tilting tray and falls into a collection box at the bottom. The beam swings back to its original position. The valve closes, and the water stops. The machine has given you exactly what you paid for, and not a drop more. You stand there for a moment, drying your hands on a piece of linen, marveling at the simplicity of the idea. It is a perfect loop of cause and effect, a mechanical contract between you and the temple. Hero of Alexandria was basically the guy who won every science fair without even trying, creating things that wouldn't be seen again for centuries. One of his other famous inventions was a programmable cart that could move by itself, powered by a heavy weight that fell slowly, pulling strings wrapped around an axle. He even created a small steam engine called an aeolipile, a spinning metal ball that showed the power of steam long before the industrial age. You think about how much of his work was lost to time, buried under the shifting sands and the rise and fall of empires. The temple is quiet, and the light from the doorway casts long, slow shadows across the floor. You feel a sense of peace here, away from the noise of the city. The machine sits there, ready for the next person, its internal gears and levers waiting in the dark. You wonder how many people used this machine and felt the same sense of wonder that you do now. Did they see it as a holy miracle, or did they understand that it was just the work of a very clever man? You lean against a cool stone pillar, watching the dust motes dance in a single beam of light that cuts through the darkness. The world outside is busy and loud, but in here, time seems to slow down. You think about the materials used to build such a machine. The bronze must have been polished until it shone like gold, and the internal parts would have been crafted with extreme precision. The leather valves and the wooden beams were all part of a delicate dance of physics. It is strange to think that the same basic logic of your modern vending machine was perfected in a world of chariots and scrolls. You realize that the desire for convenience and fairness is something that has always been with us. We have always looked for ways to automate the boring parts of life, so we can focus on the bigger questions. As you rest in the temple, your mind drifts to other wonders Hero might have created. There are stories of automatic doors that opened when a fire was lit on an altar, and mechanical theaters where wooden figures played out entire dramas without a single human hand touching them. These were the dreams of a man who saw the world as a giant puzzle to be solved. You feel a yawn stretching across your face, the coolness of the temple making you feel heavy and relaxed. The scent of the incense is soothing, a floral and earthy smell that fills your senses and calms your mind. You close your eyes for just a moment, listening to the distant sound of the city, a low rumble that feels like the breathing of a giant. The history of the vending machine is not a straight line. It is a story of things being invented, forgotten, and then found again. After Hero's time, these machines disappeared from the record for hundreds of years. The knowledge of how to build them was tucked away in old books, waiting for someone to rediscover them. You think about how many other inventions are lost to us, hidden in the ruins of cities we haven't found yet. It makes you feel small, but in a way that is comforting, like being a single star in a very large sky. The world is full of things we don't know, and that is okay. You pull yourself away from the pillar and walk back toward the entrance of the temple. The light is changing, the bright white of midday turning into a softer, warmer yellow as the afternoon begins to fade. You look back one last time at the bronze vessel, a silent masterpiece of ancient engineering. It stands there, solid and patient, a testament to the fact that humans have always been a little bit obsessed with getting a snack or a drink without having to talk to anyone. You step back out into the street, where the air is still warm, but the shadows are longer now, stretching out across the marble road like long, tired limbs. The market stalls are starting to pack up, and the merchants are calling out to one another in a friendly, tired way. You walk past a stall selling dried dates and honey cakes, the sweet smell making your mouth water. You think about how Hero would have loved to see a modern vending machine, full of colorful packages and glowing buttons. He would probably spend hours taking it apart to see how it worked, his eyes bright with curiosity. You smile at the thought, feeling a connection to this man who lived so long ago. We are all just trying to figure out how the world works, one gear at a time. You continue your walk through Alexandria, heading back toward the harbor. The city is beautiful in the late afternoon light, the white stone turning to shades of pink and orange. You see the great library in the distance, a silent monument to the power of the human mind. You feel a sense of gratitude for the people who kept these stories alive, who wrote down the designs of Hero so that we could know them today. Without them, this whole part of history would be nothing but a shadow. You reach the water's edge and sit down on a stone bench, watching the waves. The rhythm of the water is like a lullaby, a steady and calming pulse that makes you want to close your eyes and let the world drift away. The harbor is quieter now, the large ships anchored for the night, and the smaller boats bobbing gently in the water. You feel the cool breeze from the sea, a refreshing change from the heat of the day. You think about the journey of the vending machine, from a temple in Alexandria to a train station in London, and eventually to every corner of the world. It is a long and winding story, full of clever people and strange ideas. But for now, that story can wait. The sun is dipping lower in the sky, and the first few stars are starting to appear, tiny pinpricks of light in the deepening blue. You take a long, slow breath, feeling the weight of the day leaving your body. You are tired, but it is a good kind of tired. The kind of tired that comes from a long walk and a lot of thinking. You imagine yourself back in the ancient world, lying down on a soft bed of linen in a room that smells of lavender and sea air. The walls are thick and cool, and the only sound is the distant wash of the waves. You feel yourself sinking into the mattress, your muscles relaxing one by one. The story of Hero and his machine is a part of you now, a quiet piece of history that you can carry into your dreams. The world is old and full of wonders, and you are just a small part of it, drifting in the great harbor of time. You think about the bronze coin again, and the way it felt in your hand. You think about the weight of it, the simple physics of the balance beam, and the refreshing feel of the water. It is a memory of a machine that no longer exists, but the idea of it is still here. Ideas are the strongest things we have, passing from one mind to another across thousands of years. You let your thoughts wander, moving from the gears of the machine to the stars in the sky, and finally to the quiet space behind your eyes. The world is growing dark, and it is time to rest. You are safe, you are warm, and the history of the world is a long, slow song that is playing just for you. As the last light of the sun disappears, the city of Alexandria begins to glow with the soft light of oil lamps. You see them flickering in the windows of the houses and along the streets, like fallen stars. The great lighthouse is shining brightly now, a beacon in the dark that says you are home. You feel a deep sense of contentment, a feeling that everything is exactly as it should be. The machines are quiet, the libraries are closed, and the people are sleeping. You allow yourself to let go of the day, letting your breathing become slow and steady. You are ready for the next part of the journey, but for now, you are exactly where you need to be. The streets of Alexandria are silent now, the marble cooling under the night sky. The dust has settled, and the air is clear and still. You imagine the bronze vessel in the temple, standing in the dark, its internal parts resting after a long day of work. It is a silent witness to the passing of time, a small piece of human ingenuity that changed the world in a very quiet way. You feel the same stillness in your own heart, a quietness that is deep and peaceful. The history of the vending machine is just beginning, and there are many more sections to explore, many more stories to hear. But those are for another time. Right now, there is only the dark, the stars, and the soft, steady hum of the world as it turns. You are drifting now, floating on a sea of history and dreams, moving slowly toward the edge of sleep. The journey is long, but the path is soft, and the stars are bright. You close your eyes, feeling the warmth of the ancient sun still lingering in your bones, and you let yourself fall into the quiet embrace of the night. The story continues, but your part in it for today is done. You are home, you are safe, and the world is waiting for you to wake up in a new time, in a new place, with a new story to tell. But for now, just breathe. Just drift. Just be. The heavy silence of the temple surrounds you like a warm, velvet blanket, muffling the distant sounds of the bustling city of Alexandria. You stand perfectly still, your feet grounded on the cool marble floor, watching the soft light play across the surface of the great bronze vessel. This is not just a container. It is a masterpiece of early engineering, a silent servant designed by the brilliant mind of Hero. You reach out and touch the side of the machine, feeling the slight grain of the cast metal and the coolness that seems to vibrate from deep within its belly. It is a strange feeling, standing here in the dim light of a sacred space, knowing that inside this beautiful object, a small and very logical drama is about to unfold. You imagine the internal world of the machine, a place of levers and weights, where gravity and physics are the only laws that matter. The bronze is dark, aged by the damp air and the touch of thousands of hands, but it still holds a faint, metallic luster. You trace the etched patterns on the outside, seeing figures of heroes and gods frozen in time, their stories wrapping around the curved surface of the vessel. It is almost funny to think that, for all the grand architecture and the deep philosophy of the Greeks and Romans, they still struggled with people taking too much free stuff. You might think of this as the first ever subscription service, but instead of streaming movies to your phone, you are streaming 5 seconds of dampness for your face. It is a reminder that human nature hasn't changed much in 2,000 years. We have always needed a little bit of mechanical help to keep things fair. If they had invented a machine that dispensed snacks, the Roman Empire might never have fallen, or at least they would have been much happier during the long marches across Gaul. You hold your coin up to the dim light, looking at the profile of the emperor stamped into the metal. It is a small, heavy disc that represents a piece of your labor, a bit of your life that you are about to exchange for a moment of ritual purity. You feel the weight of it in your palm, a solid and comforting presence. You remember how you felt earlier, walking through the hot streets, and the promise of this water feels like a luxury. You move your hand toward the narrow slit at the top of the vessel, a dark opening that reminds you of a hungry mouth. There is a sense of mystery in this act, a feeling that you are communicating with a hidden intelligence. You are not just buying water, you are engaging with the future, even if that future is wrapped in the skin of the ancient past. You release the coin, and it disappears into the darkness of the machine. You hear the sharp ring of metal hitting a flat surface inside, followed by a heavy, metallic slide as the coin moves into place. Within the heart of the bronze vessel, a very specific sequence begins. The coin has landed on a small metal plate, which is perched on one end of a finely balanced wooden beam. This beam is the soul of the machine, a simple seesaw that has been calibrated with incredible care. The weight of your coin, tiny as it is just enough to break the equilibrium. You imagine the beam dipping slowly, like a graceful bird tilting its wing in the wind. As the end with the coin moves downward, the other end of the beam rises, pulling on a thin cord or a metal rod. This rod is connected to a leather, wrapped plug that sits tightly in the bottom of an internal water tank. As the rod lifts, the plug is pulled upward, breaking the seal and allowing the water to rush out under its own weight. It is a beautiful, simple movement, a dance of gravity and resistance. You hear the soft, rushing sound of liquid moving through a copper pipe, a rhythmic and soothing noise that fills the quiet air of the temple. Then, a steady stream of water begins to flow from the small bronze spout at the front of the machine. You quickly cup your hands beneath it, feeling the immediate shock of the cool liquid against your skin. It is refreshing beyond words, a tiny miracle of temperature and texture in the middle of a hot Egyptian afternoon. The water pools in your palms, clear and bright, and you splash it onto your face. The droplets feel like small, cool diamonds against your skin, and the scent of the water is clean and neutral, with just a hint of the bronze it traveled through. You feel your muscles relax as the coolness sinks in, a moment of pure sensory relief. But even as you enjoy the water, the machine is already finishing its work. The coin, which has been resting on the tilted plate, begins to slide toward the edge. Because the plate is now at an angle, the friction is no longer enough to hold the metal disc in place. With a slow, graceful movement, the coin slips off the edge and falls into a wooden collection box at the bottom of the vessel. You hear a soft, muffled sound as it joins the other coins already resting there. Once the weight of the coin is gone, the balance beam is no longer held down. The other end of the beam, which is weighted with a heavy piece of lead or stone, pulls the rod back down. The leather plug drops back into its seat, sealing the hole in the water tank with a firm, silent pressure. The flow of water slows to a trickle and then stops completely. The machine is silent again, its internal world returned to a state of rest. You are left with damp hands and a wet face, and a feeling of profound respect for the person who thought of this. It is a perfect loop, a mechanical transaction that requires no human supervision. Historians still argue whether these devices were intended to be practical solutions for busy temples or merely impressive displays of divine power meant to awe the crowds into giving more donations. You stand there for a moment, letting the last few drops of water fall from your fingertips onto the stone floor. The temple is very still, and the air is thick with the smell of old incense and the faint, metallic scent of the machine. You think about Hero of Alexandria and his book, the Pneumatica. In this ancient text, he described over 70 different inventions, most of which used the properties of air, steam, and water to create movement. He was a man who saw the world as a series of connected systems, a giant machine that could be understood and manipulated. You imagine him sitting in a library, surrounded by scrolls, drawing these diagrams with a steady hand. He wasn't just an engineer. He was a storyteller who used gears and pulleys instead of words. He understood that people love to be surprised, and that a machine that works by itself feels a little bit like magic. You realize that the ancient Greeks and Romans were obsessed with these kinds of mechanical wonders. They built automated theaters where tiny wooden figures would move across a stage, acting out scenes from mythology. They had fountains where mechanical birds would sing, and then fall silent when a mechanical owl turned to look at them. It was a world of high-tech gadgets, even if the tech was made of wood, leather, and bronze. You find it funny that we often think of the past as a primitive time, when in reality, people were just as clever as we are today. They just didn't have electricity, so they had to be much more creative with their power sources. Ancient Roman plumbing was surprisingly advanced, but even they hadn't figured out how to make a machine that doesn't occasionally eat your coin and give you nothing in return. You imagine a frustrated worshipper 2,000 years ago, tapping on the side of the bronze vessel and wondering why their water didn't come out. The light in the temple is shifting, the long shadows of the columns stretching out across the floor like the fingers of a giant. You feel a deep sense of calm, a sleepiness that is starting to settle in your limbs. The rhythmic sound of your own breathing matches the stillness of the space. You think about how this machine is a bridge between two worlds. It is a religious object designed to help people prepare for prayer, but it is also a scientific object, a demonstration of the laws of physics. It shows that even in the most sacred places, there is room for logic and engineering. You find comfort in that idea, the thought that the world is a place where mystery and reason can live together in the same bronze heart. As you lean against the cool stone of a nearby pillar, your mind drifts to other things Hero might have invented. There are rumors of a machine that dispensed wine, using the same principles of air pressure and balance. You imagine a group of Romans at a party, standing around a beautiful silver vessel that automatically filled their cups. It would have been the ultimate conversation piece, a way to show off your wealth and your appreciation for the latest technology. You smile at the thought of ancient people being just as obsessed with new gadgets as we are. We are all just children who like to see how things work, and we are all looking for ways to make our lives a little bit easier and a little bit more interesting. The history of the vending machine is a story of human ingenuity and our endless desire for convenience. It is a story that starts here, in the quiet temples of Egypt, and travels through time to the brightly lit hallways of modern buildings. You feel a connection to all the people who have stood in front of a machine and waited for it to give them something. It is a universal human experience, a small moment of expectation and reward. You take a slow, deep breath, feeling the air move through your body. The coolness of the temple is making you feel heavy, your eyes growing tired as you watch the dust motes dancing in the fading light. You think about the materials that make up this machine. The bronze was likely mined in a distant land, carried across the sea on a ship, and then melted and cast in a workshop here in Alexandria. The leather for the seal came from an animal that lived in the green fields of the Nile Delta. The wood for the beam was carved by a craftsman who had spent years learning his trade. Every part of the machine has a story, a history of labor and travel. It is a physical manifestation of the interconnected world of the first century. You realize that nothing is truly simple. Even a machine that dispenses water is the result of a vast network of people and ideas. The temple is growing darker now, the shadows swallowing the intricate carvings on the bronze vessel. You can no longer see the figures of the gods, but you can still feel the presence of the machine. It is a solid, grounding force in the room, a reminder of the permanence of good ideas. You think about how many of Hero's inventions were lost for centuries, their designs hidden in libraries that were burned or forgotten. It is a miracle that we know about them at all, a testament to the power of the written word. Someone, somewhere, decided that these ideas were worth saving, and they copied them onto new scrolls, generation after generation. You feel a sense of gratitude for those nameless scribes and scholars. Because of them, we can look back and see the roots of our own world. We can see that the vending machine wasn't born in a factory in the 20th century, but in a mind that lived 2,000 years ago. It makes the world feel smaller and more connected, a place where time is just a thin veil that we can occasionally peek through. You imagine the bronze vessel sitting here through the centuries, watching the rise and fall of empires, the change in religions, and the slow transformation of the city around it. It is a silent witness to history, a patient observer of the human drama. Your thoughts are becoming slower, more fragmented, like the flickering light of an oil lamp that is running low. You think about the water again, the way it felt on your hands. You think about the coin, resting in the dark box at the bottom of the machine. You think about the balance beam, perfectly still and waiting for the next person to come along. The world is full of these quiet moments of balance, places where everything is in its right place. You let your head rest against the cool stone, your eyes closing for a few seconds at a time. The sound of the city outside has faded to a distant, low hum, a sound that is as soothing as the ocean. You imagine Hero of Alexandria walking through this temple, his eyes darting around as he looks for new ways to improve his design. Maybe he would have added a small bell that rings when the water flows, or a way to make the machine dispense different amounts of water for different coins. His mind was always moving, always looking for the next challenge. You feel a sense of kinship with him, a shared curiosity about the way the world works. You realize that we are all engineers of our own lives, trying to find the right balance between our needs and our resources. We are all looking for that perfect mechanism that will make everything run smoothly. The air in the temple is very still, and the scent of the sandalwood incense is deeper now, a heavy and floral smell that makes you want to sink into the floor. You feel a sense of safety here, protected by the thick stone walls and the ancient spirits of the place. The bronze machine is a part of that safety, a reliable and predictable presence. It does what it is supposed to do, without fail, as long as the laws of physics are in place. There is a great comfort in that predictability, a feeling that some things in the world are certain and unchanging. You let your breathing slow down, each breath a long, easy movement that fills your lungs and then leaves them with a soft sigh. You are drifting now, moving between the world of history and the world of dreams. The images of the bronze vessel, the marble floor, and the white streets of Alexandria are blurring together into a soft, hazy landscape. You can still feel the coolness of the water on your skin, a ghost of a sensation that is both real and imagined. You are a traveler in time, a visitor to a world that is long gone, but still very much alive in your mind. The story of the first vending machine is a lullaby, a slow and rhythmic tale that is carrying you toward the edge of sleep. You are ready to let go of the day, to let the light fade and the shadows take over. The machine in the temple will still be there in the morning, ready for the first worshipper to arrive. It will wait in the dark, its internal gears and levers resting in the silence. It doesn't need to sleep, but it knows how to wait. You, however, do need to sleep. You need to let your body and your mind rest so that you can continue the journey tomorrow. You feel the weight of your own body, a pleasant and heavy feeling that says you are done for now. The history of the world is a very long book, and you have just finished another page. It is a good page, full of clever ideas and cool water, and the quiet peace of an ancient temple. As you drift further into the quiet, you think one last time about the coin and the balance beam. You think about how such a small thing can start such a big movement. It is a reminder that every action we take has an effect, even if we can't always see the internal gears moving. You feel a sense of peace with that thought, a feeling that you are part of a larger system that is working exactly as it should. The darkness is warm and soft, and the stars outside are shining down on the city of Alexandria, their light reaching across the vast distance of space to touch the white marble roads. You are part of that light, part of that history, and part of this quiet night. Sleep now, and let the machines of the ancient world watch over your dreams. The water is still, the beam is balanced, and the world is at rest. The warm air of ancient Alexandria fades into a cool, misty gray as you feel the weight of centuries shifting beneath your feet. It is a strange sensation, like walking through a thick fog where time itself has become a slow, syrupy liquid. You leave the marble halls and the bronze vessels behind, watching them dissolve into the dust of history. For a long time, the world seems to go quiet. The clever gears of Hero and the mechanical dreams of the Greeks are tucked away into heavy, leather-bound books, resting on dark wooden shelves in places where the sunlight rarely reaches. You find yourself moving through a long, quiet corridor of history, where the only sound is the soft rustle of parchment and the distant, muffled ring of a monastery bell. In this middle period, The vending machine does not disappear, but it enters a deep, peaceful sleep, waiting for the world to become busy enough to need it once again. You are now walking through a medieval scriptorium, a place of extreme stillness, and the smell of old beeswax and damp stone. The air is cool and smells faintly of vinegar and dried herbs. You see a monk hunched over a desk, his quill scratching rhythmically against a sheet of vellum. He is copying the words of the ancients, preserving the blueprints of machines he will never build. It is a slow, meditative process, and you feel the calm of his focus settling over you. You realize that these monks were basically the first ever cloud storage systems, keeping the data of human knowledge safe while the world outside was a bit of a chaotic mess. If it weren't for their patient hands, we might have forgotten how to make a simple lever or a balanced beam. You watch the flickering candlelight dance on the stone walls, creating shapes that look like the gears and pulleys of a forgotten future. The years pass like the slow turning of a giant wheel, and the world begins to change. The quiet of the monastery is replaced by the growing noise of towns and the clatter of horse-drawn carriages on cobblestones. You find yourself in the heart of England, somewhere in the late 1600s or early 1700s. The air here is different. It is damp and carries the scent of coal smoke and the earthy aroma of the river. The sun is setting, casting a deep, golden glow over the brick buildings, and you feel a chill in the air that makes you pull your heavy wool cloak tighter around your shoulders. You are looking for a place of warmth, a place where people gather to share stories and a bit of comfort at the end of a long day. You push open the heavy oak door of a tavern, and the transition is immediate and wonderful. The room is filled with the orange light of a roaring fireplace, and the air is thick with the smell of roasting meat, spilled ale, and the sharp, spicy scent of tobacco. Your boots make a soft, muffled sound on the sawdust that covers the floor, absorbing the moisture and the noise of the room. You find a quiet corner with a wooden table that is worn smooth by the elbows of countless travelers. You sit down, feeling the solid weight of the chair beneath you, and the heat from the fire warming your face. This is a world that is rediscovering the joy of small, clever inventions, and you are about to see the next step in the journey of the vending machine. On the table in front of you sits a small, rectangular box made of polished brass. It looks like a miniature treasure chest, with a sturdy lid and a small slit on the top. This is a tobacco box, and in this tavern, it is the most popular object in the room. In the 1700s, tobacco was the new obsession, a luxury that everyone wanted to enjoy, but few could afford to waste. Historians still argue whether these brass boxes were a direct evolution of Hero's ancient water machine, or if some clever English locksmith simply had a very similar idea after a few too many pence of ale. Regardless of its origin, the machine has returned, and this time it is serving the needs of the common person in a smoky London pub. You reach into your pocket and find a copper halfpenny. It is larger and heavier than the modern coins you are used to, its surface cold and slightly grimy from being passed from hand to hand. You hold it for a moment, feeling the history of the coin in your fingers. The tavern is filled with the low, steady murmur of conversation, a sound like a distant river that makes you feel relaxed and safe. You move the coin toward the slit in the brass box. There is a sense of ritual here, just as there was in the temple in Alexandria. You drop the coin into the slot. You hear the clear, bright ring of the metal hitting the internal mechanism, a sound that is sharp and satisfying in the warm room. Inside the box, the weight of the halfpenny pushes down on a small lever. This lever is connected to a spring-loaded latch that holds the lid shut. When the lever moves, the latch releases, and the lid of the box pops open just a fraction with a soft, metallic click. You reach out and lift the lid the rest of the way, revealing a small pile of shredded tobacco leaves. They are dark and rich, smelling of earth and dried fruit. This is your portion, the reward for your coin. You take a small pinch, enough to fill a long, stemmed clay pipe, and then you push the lid back down. It snaps shut with a firm, solid sound, locking itself once again. This device is often called an honesty box, which is a bit of a funny name, because the machine doesn't actually stop you from taking more than your fair share once the lid is open. It relies on the social pressure of the tavern and the basic decency of the people around you. If you were caught taking a handful of tobacco for a single halfpenny, you would likely find yourself unceremoniously tossed out into the cold mud of the street. It is a machine that works on a combination of physics and human character. You realize that the 18th century was a time when people were starting to trust machines to handle small transactions, paving the way for the massive automated world we live in now. It was the era of trust, but verify, or trust, but make sure everyone else is watching. You lean back in your chair, watching the smoke from the fireplace curl and drift toward the ceiling. The tavern is a cozy cocoon, a place where the harshness of the outside world is kept at bay. You think about how strange it is that the vending machine reappeared in a pub rather than a church or a library. Perhaps it is because taverns were the social hubs of the time, the places where new ideas and new technologies were first tested. You imagine the inventor of this box, a man who probably spent a lot of time watching people fumble with their tobacco pouches and thought there had to be a better way. He was a pioneer of convenience, a man who understood that sometimes people just want a quick and easy way to get what they need. The mainstream historical fact of the matter is that these tobacco dispensers were among the very first vending machines to be used in the modern era, appearing in English taverns as early as 1715. They were simple, they were elegant, and they were incredibly effective. You can almost feel the pride of the craftsman who polished the brass until it reflected the flickering light of the candles. Each box was a little piece of art, a mechanical servant that sat patiently on the table, waiting for the next coin. You watch another patron walk up to the table, drop a coin, and take their tobacco with a practiced, rhythmic movement. It is a dance that has been performed thousands of times, a small moment of commerce that keeps the world turning. You feel a wave of sleepiness wash over you, the warmth of the fire and the steady hum of the tavern making your eyelids feel heavy. You think about the journey of the gear and the lever, from the sun-drenched marble of Egypt to the dark wood of this English pub. It is a journey of survival, a story of how good ideas never truly die. They just wait for the right moment to bloom. You imagine the blueprints of hero traveling through time, tucked inside the pockets of travelers or hidden in the margins of forgotten books. The world is a web of connections, and you are just one of the many people who have been caught in its strands. A quirky tidbit that most people don't know is that some of these early boxes were designed with a small bell inside that would ring every time the lid was opened. This was to alert the tavern keeper, so they could keep an eye on who was using the machine. It was a primitive form of an alarm system. A little brass voice that said, "Hey, someone is getting their tobacco now." You imagine the tavern being filled with these tiny, musical chimes throughout the evening, a soundtrack of small transactions. It makes the machine feel more alive, like a little metal pet that chirps when it is fed a coin. You smile at the thought, feeling a sense of playfulness in the history of these objects. The tavern keeper moves through the room, carrying a tray of mugs and nodding to the regulars. He has a kind, weathered face, the face of a man who has seen a lot of people come and go. He pauses for a moment to polish the brass tobacco box on your table with a piece of cloth, ensuring that it continues to shine in the firelight. He treats the machine with a certain amount of respect, as if it were an important member of the staff. And in a way, it is. It handles the small sales so he can focus on the big ones. It is an early example of automation taking over a repetitive task, allowing the human to focus on the things that require a human touch. You take a slow, deep breath, feeling the air fill your lungs with the scent of the hearth. Your thoughts are moving slowly now, like the heavy pendulum of a grandfather clock in the corner of the room. You think about the craftsmanship that went into making that brass box. The springs had to be just the right tension. If they were too loose, the lid wouldn't stay shut, and if they were too tight, the coin wouldn't be heavy enough to release the latch. It required a deep understanding of materials and mechanics. You realize that even a simple machine is a testament to the hours of trial and error that someone put into it. It is a physical manifestation of human patience. As you sit there, you think about the concept of the honesty box and what it says about the people of the time. It was a world that still believed in a certain level of collective responsibility. You wonder if a machine like that could work today, or if we have become too cynical for such a simple system. Historians still argue whether these machines actually made a profit, or if they were mostly just a way to attract customers to the tavern. Perhaps the tobacco was just a loss leader, a little bit of bait to keep people sitting in their chairs and ordering more all. Either way, it was a brilliant bit of marketing disguised as a mechanical wonder. The fire in the hearth is beginning to settle, the bright flames turning into glowing red embers that pulse with a soft, internal light. You watch the patterns in the coals, seeing landscapes of fire and mountains of ash. The room is growing quieter as the night goes on, the loud laughter and the clink of mugs fading into a gentle, rhythmic murmur. You feel a sense of profound comfort, a feeling that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. The story of the vending machine is not just a story of metal and wood. It is a story of people and the small ways they try to make their lives better. You imagine yourself as a traveler in the 1700s, having just finished a long day of walking on muddy roads. This tavern is your sanctuary, and the little brass box is a sign that you have reached civilization. You think about the comfort of knowing that for a single halfpenny, you can have a moment of peace and a pipe full of tobacco. It is a small thing, but in a world that can be harsh and unpredictable, small things are often the most important. You let your hand rest on the table near the box, feeling the vibration of the room through the wood. The world is steady and solid, and you are part of its rhythm. The shadows in the room are getting longer and softer, blurring the edges of the furniture and the faces of the people around you. You feel the weight of the day leaving your body, your muscles loosening, and your breathing becoming slow and deep. The tavern is a world of its own, a little island of warmth in the middle of a cold, dark night. You think about how many people have sat in this very chair, feeling the same sense of relief and quiet joy. History is not just a list of dates and battles. It is a collection of these small, quiet moments that we all share across the centuries. You think about the coin again, the halfpenny that is now resting in the bottom of the brass box. It will be collected at the end of the night, counted, and eventually spent on something else. It is a tiny part of a massive economic system, but for a few moments, it was the key to a mechanical lock. You find beauty in that simplicity, the idea that a small piece of metal can change the state of a machine. It is a reminder that we all have the power to make things happen, even if our actions seem small and insignificant. Every coin dropped, every lever pulled, every lid opened is a part of the grand machinery of life. Your eyes are closing now, and the images of the tavern are starting to fade into a soft, hazy dream. You can still hear the soft crackle of the fire and the distant, muffled sounds of the street outside. You feel the cool air from the window and the warmth from the hearth, a perfect balance of temperatures that makes you want to curl up and sleep for 1,000 years. The brass box on the table is a silent sentinel, watching over you as you drift away. It is a piece of the past, a piece of the future, and a piece of the present, all wrapped up in a polished metal skin. You imagine the machine waiting through the night, the coins inside its belly a quiet record of the day's events. It doesn't need to sleep, and it doesn't need to dream. It just exists, a perfect example of human ingenuity and the desire for order. You feel a sense of peace with that thought, a feeling that the world is being taken care of by these silent, mechanical servants. You are ready to let go, to let the darkness take over and the dreams begin. The story of the vending machine will continue when you wake up, but for now, it is time to rest in the warmth of the tavern and the safety of the past. As the last embers of the fire glow, you think one last time about the honesty of the machine. It is a beautiful concept, the idea that a machine can bring out the best in people. It asks for trust, and in return, it gives a reward. It is a simple contract, a small moment of grace in a busy world. You feel that grace in your own heart, a quietness that is deep and soothing. The world is a good place, full of clever machines and kind people and warm fires. You take one last, slow breath, feeling the air move like a gentle wave through your body, and then you let yourself sink into the soft, welcoming dark. The tavern is silent, the box is closed, and the journey continues in the quiet space of your dreams. You are traveling through time, moving slowly from the smoky pubs of the 1700s toward the bright, clanging world of the Industrial Revolution. But that is a story for later. Right now, there is only the peace of the night and the soft, steady heartbeat of history. The golden embers of the tavern fire seem to stretch and liquefy, turning into the long, shimmering reflections of gaslight on wet London pavement. You feel the air grow thinner and sharper, losing the smoky warmth of the countryside and taking on the heavy, metallic tang of coal smoke and river mist. The year is 1822, and you are standing on a street corner in the heart of London, a city that never truly sleeps, but always seems to be whispering to itself. The transition from the simple brass tobacco box to this sprawling, soot-stained metropolis feels like waking from one dream, only to find yourself in another, more complex one. You pull your collar up against the dampness that clings to your skin like a cold silk scarf. The world is changing faster than the people in it can keep up with, and the machines are beginning to take on a life of their own. You hear the rhythmic clatter of carriage wheels on the stones, a sound that is both busy and hypnotic, like the ticking of a giant, city-sized clock. You are walking toward Fleet Street, a place where words are the most valuable currency. In this era, the vending machine is no longer a religious miracle or a tavern novelty. It has become a tool of rebellion. You think back to Hero of Alexandria and his holy water, or the tobacco boxes of the 1700s, and you realize that those were machines of convenience and order. But here, in the shadow of the great printing presses, the machine is being used to bypass the law. You see a small shopfront ahead of you, the windows dark except for a single, flickering lamp inside. This is the shop of Richard Carlyle, a man who believes that everyone has the right to read whatever they want, even if the government thinks those ideas are dangerous. You imagine the tension in the air, a quiet electricity that comes from doing something that is technically forbidden but morally necessary. The London fog is so thick tonight that it feels like you are walking through a cloud of grey wool. It muffles the sounds of the city, turning the shouting of distant vendors into ghost voices and the clatter of horses into a dull, repetitive throb. You find a certain comfort in this isolation, a feeling that you are invisible in the crowd. Historians still argue whether these specific vending machines were truly effective at avoiding the law, or if they were mostly a brilliant piece of performance, art meant to mock the authorities. Either way, they represent a pivotal moment in the history of the vending machine. This is the point where the technology becomes intellectual, moving from physical needs like water or tobacco to the hunger of the mind. You realize that a machine doesn't care about politics or censorship. It just follows its internal logic, making it the perfect accomplice for a secret transaction. You reach the shop and step close to the window. There, bolted to the wall, is a heavy iron box that looks like it belongs in a fortress rather than a bookstore. It is painted a deep, somber black, and its surface is cold and damp to the touch. This is the invisible shopman, one of the most clever inventions of the Victorian age. In a world where selling, blasphemous, or seditious, literature could get you thrown in Newgate prison, Carlyle had a problem. If a person sold a book to a secret policeman, they could be arrested. But a machine cannot be arrested. You look at the interface of the device, which consists of a large, circular dial with various book titles written around the edge in elegant, swirling script. It looks a bit like a clock, but instead of telling time, it tells stories. You reach out and touch the iron dial, feeling the slight vibration of the city through the metal. Your fingers trace the titles: The Rights of Man, The Age of Reason, and other works that the government would dearly love to burn. There is a cheeky sense of humor in this design, a way of saying that even if you lock up the man, you cannot lock up the mechanism. If you think your modern internet filter is annoying, imagine having to buy a book from a secret iron box in a foggy alleyway just to read a different opinion on taxes. You feel the weight of a heavy silver shilling in your hand, its edges sharp and clear. This coin is your key to a world of forbidden thoughts. The London air is quiet for a moment, the only sound being the distant chime of a church bell marking the hour. You turn the dial. It moves with a heavy, satisfying resistance, a series of internal clicks that you can feel in your wrist. You align the pointer with the book you want. Then you find the small, dark slit near the top of the machine. You drop the coin in, unlike the light ring of the tobacco box, or the splash of the holy water vessel. The sound of the shilling hitting the internal mechanism is a deep, solid thunk that seems to echo inside the iron casing. Inside the machine, the coin slides down a series of chutes, its weight tripping a release lever that is connected to a shelf. On that shelf sits a small, paper-bound volume. As the lever moves, the shelf tilts, and gravity does the rest of the work. You hear the soft, rustling slide of paper against metal, and then a small book drops into a wooden bin at the bottom of the machine. You reach in and pull it out. The paper is slightly rough and smells of fresh ink and old wood pulp. It is a tangible piece of a revolution, delivered by a machine that doesn't know its own importance. You tuck the book inside your coat, feeling its warmth against your chest. The transaction is complete, and no one has seen your face, and you have seen no one in return. It is the ultimate anonymous purchase, a precursor to the private digital world we live in now. You find it fascinating that the vending machine was a privacy tool long before it was a snack dispenser. The invisible shopman was a quirky tidbit of Victorian engineering that most people have forgotten. It was a sophisticated piece of equipment that used a clock-like movement to ensure that only one book was released per coin. If you tried to trick it, the machine would simply stay locked, a stubborn iron sentinel. You imagine the frustration of a Victorian policeman trying to figure out who to handcuff when the only criminal in the room is a bolted down box of gears. You take a slow, deep breath, feeling the damp London air fill your lungs. The city is full of these hidden layers, these secret histories that are written in iron and brass. You feel like a character in a Gothic novel, a silent observer of a world that is moving toward a future it can't yet see. As you walk away from the shop, your boots making a rhythmic, hollow sound on the wet stones, you think about the mainstream historical fact that Richard Carlyle spent years in prison despite his machines. The authorities eventually decided that if they couldn't arrest the machine, they would just arrest the person who owned the shop where the machine was located. It shows that while technology can change the rules, it can't always change the people in power. But the idea had been planted. The concept of a machine that could handle complex tasks and provide specific items on demand was now firmly in the public imagination. You look at the tall, narrow buildings of London, their windows glowing with the soft, yellow light of candles and oil lamps, and you feel the weight of history all around you. The Victorian era was a time of intense curiosity and mechanical obsession. People were building steam engines, that could power entire factories and telegraph lines, that could carry messages across the ocean. In this context, the vending machine was just another way to explore the possibilities of automation. You imagine a group of Victorian engineers sitting in a wood-paneled club, drinking tea and arguing about the best way to design a spring-loaded delivery system. They were the architects of our modern convenience, the people who looked at a manual task and asked, "Can a machine do this better?" You feel a sense of kinship with their restless energy, their desire to build and create and solve. The fog is starting to lift slightly, revealing the dark shapes of the chimneys and the spires of the city. You see the reflection of the moon in a puddle, a pale and trembling light that looks like a silver coin. You think about how many coins have been dropped into machines throughout history, each one a small vote for the future. The vending machine is a record of our desires, first water for the gods, then tobacco for the tavern, and now books for the mind. It is a mirror of what we value at any given moment. You wonder what the next step will be, what the machines of the future will offer us in exchange for our currency. Your thoughts are becoming slow and heavy, the dampness of the city making you feel a bit lethargic and relaxed. The rhythm of your walking is like a heartbeat, a steady and calming pulse that makes the world feel smaller and more manageable. You imagine yourself back in a cozy Victorian library, sitting in a high-backed leather chair near a small fire. The book you just bought from the machine is open in your lap, and the smell of the ink is a soothing, earthy perfume. The world outside is cold and busy, but in here, there is only the quiet scratch of a pen and the soft crackle of the flames. You feel a sense of peace, a feeling that even in a city of millions, you can find a quiet space for yourself. The history of the vending machine in London is also a story of the railway. Soon, these machines would move from the secret shopfronts of Fleet Street to the bustling platforms of the train stations. They would start selling postcards, stamps, and even small bars of chocolate. But for now, they are still a bit mysterious, a bit fringe. They are the tools of the outsiders, the dreamers, and the rebels. You find beauty in that origin story, the idea that convenience was born from a need for freedom. It makes every vending machine you see today feel like a little piece of a much larger struggle. You smile at the thought, feeling a light sense of irony. Most people today just want a bag of chips, but they are using a technology that once helped people change the world. You pass by a street lamp that is making a soft, rhythmic clicking sound as the gas flickers inside the glass. It is a comforting noise, a mechanical heartbeat that matches your own. You realize that you are surrounded by machines, even if they don't look like the ones from your own time. The city is a giant mechanism, a system of pipes and wires and gears that keeps everything moving. You are a part of that system, a single gear in a massive clock. This thought doesn't make you feel small. It makes you feel connected. You are part of the grand design, a witness to the slow and steady progress of the human race. The air is getting colder, and you feel a yawn pulling at your jaw. The night is deep now, and the sounds of the city are fading into a low, distant hum. You think about the invisible shopman one last time. You imagine it sitting there in the dark, its iron face indifferent to the passing of time. It doesn't need to sleep, and it doesn't need to dream. It just waits for the next coin, the next person who wants to hear what it has to say. There is a great dignity in that patience, a feeling of reliability that is very soothing. You let your breathing slow down, each breath a long, easy movement that follows the rhythm of the city. You are drifting through the streets of Victorian London, a traveler in a world that is both familiar and strange. The images of the iron box, the wet stones, and the flickering gaslight are blurring together into a soft, grey tapestry. You feel the weight of the book in your pocket, a solid and comforting presence that says you have what you need. The world is full of these small rewards, these little moments of success that keep us moving forward. You are ready to let the night take over, to let the fog wrap itself around you like a warm blanket. The journey of the vending machine is half finished, and there are many more sections to explore, but for now, you can rest. You imagine yourself lying down in a room with thick velvet curtains that block out the light of the city. The bed is high and soft, with layers of wool blankets that press down on you with a gentle, reassuring weight. The only sound is the distant, muffled chime of Big Ben, a deep and resonant noise that tells you the world is still there, still turning, still keeping time. You feel your muscles relaxing, your mind letting go of the gears and the levers and the coins. The history of the world is a long and winding road, and you have walked a good portion of it tonight. You deserve this rest, this quiet space in the middle of the storm. As you fall deeper into the quiet, you think about the concept of the invisible worker. The vending machine is a worker that never gets tired, never complains, and never asks for a raise. It is the perfect employee for a world that is obsessed with efficiency, but it is also a reminder of the human mind that created it. Behind every machine is a person with an idea, a person who wanted to solve a problem or share a thought. The machine is just a vessel, a way to carry that idea through time. You feel a sense of gratitude for Richard Carlyle and all the others like him who pushed the boundaries of what was possible. They made the world a little bit more interesting, a little bit more complex. The darkness is soft and welcoming, a deep blue space where dreams can grow. You are floating on a sea of history, moving slowly through the fog toward the next century. You can feel the change in the air, a sense of excitement and energy that is building just over the horizon. But that is for tomorrow. For now, there is only the silence of the iron box and the soft, steady hum of the gaslight. You are safe, you are warm, and the city is watching over you. Sleep now, and let the sounds of Victorian London carry you away. The books are sold, the coins are collected, and the world is at peace. You think one last time about the dial on the machine. You think about how it feels to turn it, the heavy click of the metal, the sense of choice and agency. It is a small power, but it is a real one. In a world where so much is out of our control, being able to choose a book from a machine is a victory. You carry that victory with you into your sleep, a little spark of light in the dark. The story continues. The gears keep turning, and the history of the vending machine unfolds like a long, beautiful scroll. But for tonight, the scroll is closed. The end of the section is near, and the quiet of the night is absolute. Just breathe. Just drift. Just be. The flickering gaslight of the London streets begins to merge into a much larger, more resonant glow, the kind of light that fills a vast space with a hazy, golden dust. You feel the ground beneath your boots change from the uneven, wet cobblestones of a dark alley to the wide, echoing expanse of a grand railway platform. The air here is different. It is colder, moving in long, sweeping draughts that carry the heavy scent of coal smoke, hot oil, and the crisp, dry smell of fresh paper. You are standing in the heart of the 1880s, perhaps at Mansion House or the sprawling Victoria Station, where the Victorian obsession with order and industry has reached its peak. You hear the rhythmic, distant thrum of a steam engine, a sound that feels like the very pulse of the world, vibrating through the soles of your feet and calming your nerves with its steady, predictable beat. The fog of the early century has cleared enough for you to see the magnificent iron arches of the station roof, disappearing into the shadows high above like the ribs of a sleeping giant. You are no longer looking for secret books or holy water. You are part of a new era of movement and communication. People are rushing past you, their figures blurred by the steam that rises from the tracks in white, billowing clouds. Yet, amidst all this motion, there is a sense of quiet reliability. You look toward a thick iron pillar, and there you see it, standing bold and upright, painted a bright, confident red. It is the newest wonder of the age, the 1883 postcard and note paper dispenser, designed by the brilliant Percival Everett. This machine does not hide in the shadows of a bookstore. It stands in the center of public life, a mechanical servant waiting to help you send a message to a distant friend. You probably believe that vending machines were always meant for snacks. But in this bustling station, they were the first true social media, allowing travelers to grab a postcard and a stamp without ever having to wait in a long, tedious line at a counter. You walk toward the machine, your footsteps making a hollow, rhythmic sound on the platform. The iron of the machine is cold to the touch, its surface smooth and solid, built to withstand the chaotic energy of thousands of passing travelers. You admire the Victorian craftsmanship, the way the metal is molded with elegant curves and decorative filigree, as if even a utility machine deserves to be a piece of art. It feels heavy and permanent, a lighthouse of convenience in a sea of rushing people. You reach into your pocket and find a large, copper penny. It is a substantial coin, its weight comforting in your hand. You feel the embossed edges, the profile of the queen, and the slight warmth the metal has gathered from your own body. This is the key that unlocks the machine's internal logic. You hold the penny up to the light for a moment, watching the way the station's lamps reflect off its surface in a soft, orange blur. The world around you is loud, but here, in front of the machine, there is a small pocket of stillness. You find the slot, a narrow horizontal opening in the heavy iron face. You slide the penny in. There is no sharp click here, but rather a smooth, sliding sound as the heavy copper disc moves through a brass channel. Inside the machine, your coin is doing something quite clever. It isn't just a payment, it is a physical weight. Everett's design relied on the exact gravity of the penny to trip a series of delicate internal balances. Historians still argue whether Everett truly invented the modern vending machine from scratch, or if he simply had the best marketing team in Victorian London to ensure his name was the one that stuck in the history books. As the coin reaches the bottom of its path, you hear a deep, muffled movement from within the iron casing. It is the sound of a heavy spring being released, a mechanical sigh that marks the success of your transaction. A small wooden drawer at the bottom of the machine slides forward just an inch, presenting you with a crisp, white postcard and a single sheet of note paper. You reach out and take them, feeling the slightly rough texture of the high-quality cardstock and the faint, clean smell of the paper mill. It is a small victory, a moment of perfect exchange. You imagine yourself leaning against the iron pillar, the steam from a departing train swirling around your legs like a warm, white blanket, as you prepare to write a quick note to someone far away. The machine has done its job, and it is already resetting itself, waiting with infinite patience for the next traveler. This machine was the beginning of an empire. Soon after this success, the Sweetmeat Automatic Delivery Company was formed, and the vending machine began to conquer every railway platform in Great Britain. You realize that the sweetmeat in the name refers to what we now call candy or chocolate. It wasn't long before these red iron boxes were joined by others, offering small, wrapped bars of chocolate and little packets of butterscotch. A quirky tidbit that many people don't realize is that these machines were actually a major loophole in the strict Sunday trading laws of the time. While all the shops were forced to close their doors on the Sabbath, the vending machines remained open, a silent army of tireless clerks that could legally sell you a snack or a stamp when no human was allowed to. It made the machines incredibly popular, turning them into a symbol of modern freedom and clever rebellion against old, dusty rules. You feel a wave of relaxation move through you as you watch the station's activity. The rhythmic clanking of a porter's trolley and the distant, melodic call of a whistle create a soothing soundscape. You find a wooden bench nearby, its surface worn smooth by decades of travelers, and you sit down, letting the weight of the day lift from your shoulders. The station is a place of transitions, of beginnings and endings, and the vending machines are the quiet observers of it all. They don't care where you are going or where you have been. They only care that you have a penny and a desire for a postcard. You think about the millions of people who have stood where you are standing, feeling that same sense of satisfaction as the machine delivered its prize. It is a shared human experience, a small thread of connection that spans across the generations. The mainstream historical fact is that by the end of the 1880s, Everett's machines were so reliable that they were being exported all over the world. From the busy streets of New York to the colonial stations of India, they were the first truly global automated retail system. You think about the engineering required to make a machine that could function in the damp cold of London and the humid heat of Calcutta without jamming. The internal parts were often made of brass and hardened steel, lubricated with fine oils that smelled of citrus and minerals. You imagine a technician in a heavy leather apron, carefully adjusting the tension of the springs and polishing the coin slots until they shone like mirrors. There was a great deal of pride in this work, a sense that they were building the foundations of a new kind of world. As you sit on the bench, your eyes begin to grow heavy. The steam from the locomotives creates a soft, undulating curtain that dims the bright lights of the station, turning everything into a hazy, dreamlike vision. You watch a young girl walk up to a chocolate machine, her face lit with excitement as she drops her coin. You hear the heavy, metallic impact of the penny and the subsequent slide of the delivery tray. It is a rhythmic dance of commerce, a slow and steady pulse that is as calming as a heartbeat. The world is moving toward the 20th century, toward a time of electricity and neon. But for now, it is still a world of iron, steam, and heavy copper pennies. You feel a deep sense of peace, knowing that the machines are there, working silently in the background of our lives. The scent of the station, that unique mix of coal dust, ozone, and old wood, is surprisingly comforting. It is the smell of progress, but also the smell of a world that knows its own rhythm. You think about the anti-cheat mechanisms that Everett had to invent. People have always tried to trick the machines, using lead slugs or washers instead of real pennies. To counter this, the internal channels were designed with precise curves and magnets, ensuring that only a coin of the correct weight and metal would reach the triggering mechanism. It was a silent battle of wits between the inventor and the trickster, a game played out in the dark interior of a red iron box. You smile at the thought, finding a light sense of irony in the fact that we have been trying to outsmart machines since the very beginning. You take a slow, deep breath, feeling the cool air settle in your lungs. The bench is solid beneath you, and the vibrations of the station are like a gentle massage for your tired muscles. You think about how the vending machine changed the way we interact with the world. Before this, every purchase required a conversation, a social performance. But the machine offered a private, quiet alternative. It was perfect for the shy traveler, the hurried businessman, or the person who just didn't want to talk to anyone that day. It was the birth of the self-service culture, a shift in human behavior that would eventually lead to the supermarkets and digital kiosks of your own time. You realize that Everett wasn't just selling postcards, he was selling a new kind of independence. The station's clock, a massive bronze circle with elegant black hands, moves forward with a slow, audible click. Time here feels both fast and slow. The trains come and go with urgency, but the station itself feels ancient and unchanging. You imagine the vending machines as the anchors of this space, the constant points in a world of change. They are the iron servants that never sleep, never eat, and never complain. They are the perfect manifestation of the Victorian ideal, industrious, reliable, and aesthetically pleasing. You let your head rest back against the wooden slats of the bench, your eyes closing for a few seconds as the sounds of the platform blend into a single, distant hum. It is a beautiful, mechanical lullaby. You think about the postcards again. In an era before telephones were common, these machines were vital. A traveler could arrive at a station, buy a card and a stamp from a machine, write a quick message, and drop it in a nearby pillar box, all within 5 minutes. It was the instant messaging of the 19th century. You can almost feel the texture of the ink as it dries on the card, the scratch of a fountain pen across the surface. The words were simple, arrived safely. Thinking of you, weather is grand. These tiny fragments of lives were facilitated by a box of gears and a copper coin. It gives the machine a soul, a sense of purpose that goes beyond simple commerce. It was a bridge between hearts, built of cast iron and springs. The light in the station is changing, the golden glow of the gas lamps softening as the evening deepens. The shadows are long and graceful, stretching across the stone floor like velvet ribbons. You feel a sense of profound contentment, a feeling that you are a part of a grand, orderly system. The history of the vending machine is a story of how we have always sought to make our lives a little bit smoother, a little bit more connected. From the temples of Alexandria to the platforms of London, the goal has stayed the same. We want the world to respond to us, to give us what we need with a simple, mechanical gesture. You find comfort in that continuity, the thought that across 2,000 years, the human heart hasn't changed its basic desires. A quirky detail that historians sometimes whisper about is the automated restaurant that started to appear toward the end of this era. In Berlin and later in New York, entire walls were filled with vending machines, each one holding a different dish. You could buy a whole meal without ever seeing a waiter. It was the ultimate expansion of Everett's idea, a world where the machine didn't just give you a snack, but a full dinner. You imagine the wonder of those first customers, standing in front of a wall of glass and brass, watching their food appear as if by magic. It must have felt like living in the future. But even then, the core of the experience was the same: the coin, the click, and the reward. As you drift closer to sleep, the images of the red iron machines and the white steam of the trains become soft and blurry. You feel the cool breeze from a distant doorway, a refreshing touch that makes you snuggle deeper into your imaginary cloak. The world is a safe place, a place of iron and logic and quiet efficiency. You are a traveler in time, and tonight you are resting in one of the great cathedrals of the industrial age. The sounds of the station are fading now, the loud clanging of the tracks turning into a soft, rhythmic pulsing. You can hear the faint, musical ring of a penny dropping into a machine somewhere down the platform, a tiny, silver sound that signals a successful journey. You think about the evolution of the sweetmeat. The first chocolate bars sold in these machines were quite different from the ones you know today. They were dark, brittle, and wrapped in thick, waxy paper that made a loud, satisfying crinkle when opened. You imagine the taste, a rich and earthy sweetness that would have been a rare treat for many people. The vending machine made luxury accessible to everyone with a penny. It was a democratic force, a machine that didn't care about your social status or the clothes you wore. It treated everyone exactly the same, with the cold, fair logic of a balance beam. You find a deep sense of justice in that, a feeling that the machine represents a kind of mechanical honesty that is rare in the human world. The darkness of the station roof seems to descend like a heavy, protective blanket. You feel the weight of history all around you, the stories of millions of travelers pressing in with a gentle, reassuring pressure. You are not alone. You are part of a vast, moving tapestry of humanity. The vending machines are the quiet markers of our progress, the iron sentinels that stand at the crossroads of our lives. You let your breathing become slow and deep, matching the rhythm of the distant steam engine. Each breath is a long, easy wave that carries you further away from the noise of the day and closer to the quiet of the night. You imagine the machine at the end of its shift, if a machine can have a shift. The coins are collected by a man with a heavy canvas bag, the metallic clinking of the pennies a song of a successful day. The internal shelves are refilled with new postcards, new chocolate, new stamps. The glass is wiped clean, and the iron is polished until it glows. Then The machine is left alone in the quiet of the night station, waiting for the first morning train and the first traveler of the new day. It is a cycle of renewal that has been repeating for over 100 years. You find a great peace in that cycle, a feeling that the world is being looked after, even when we are sleeping. Your thoughts are like the last wisps of steam from a departing locomotive, drifting upward and disappearing into the dark. You are floating now, moving between the iron world of the 1880s and the soft, quiet space of your own dreams. The history of the vending machine has brought you to a place of comfort and reliability, a place where a penny can buy a moment of connection. You are ready to let go of the platform, the trains, and the red iron boxes. You are ready to sink into the deep, dark blue of a restful sleep. The machines will still be there when you wake up, standing ready in every station, every hallway, and every corner of the world. As you fall into the final embrace of the night, you think one last time about Percival Everett. You think about the spark of an idea that led to a global industry. You think about the simple beauty of a spring and a wait. It is a reminder that even the most complex systems start with a single, clear thought. You feel that clarity in your own mind, a stillness that is absolute and soothing. The station is quiet, the trains are still, and the world is at rest. You are safe, you are warm, and the history of the world is a long, slow song that is singing you to sleep. Just breathe, just drift, just be. The journey continues in your dreams, where the iron is soft as velvet and the steam is warm as a summer breeze. The rhythmic clatter of the London railway fades, replaced by a sound that is sharper, faster, and filled with a strange, new energy. You feel the cool, damp air of the English platform give way to a brisk, salty wind that carries the scent of the Atlantic Ocean and the distant, metallic tang of iron bridges. You have crossed the great water, following the gears and the levers as they migrate toward the bustling streets of a young and hungry New York City. The year is 1888, and you find yourself standing on a high wooden platform of the elevated railroad, the EL, as the locals call it. Above you, the sky is a pale, wintry blue, and below, the city hums with the sound of horse-drawn wagons and the shouting of newsboys. You probably believe that America invented the vending machine to satisfy its legendary love for snacks, but the truth is that the machine came here to solve a very specific problem. What to do with all that nervous energy? The platform beneath your boots vibrates as a train pulls away, leaving a trail of dark smoke that drifts between the tall brick buildings. You turn your gaze toward a slender, ornate pedestal bolted to the wooden planks. It is painted a cheerful, bright green, a stark contrast to the somber reds and blacks of the machines you left behind in Europe. This is the creation of Thomas Adams, a man who realized that if you give people a small, sweet distraction, they might just forget how crowded and noisy the city has become. This machine does not sell postcards or holy water. It sells the very first tutti, frutti, gum. You find a certain humor in the thought that the great American vending empire began not with a meal or a tool, but with a small, chewy piece of rubbery sugar. It is the ancestor of the modern gym membership. You do a lot of work with your jaw, but you never actually get anywhere. You reach into your pocket and find a slim, copper penny. It feels lighter than the English penny, a small and nimble coin that seems to pulse with the fast-paced spirit of the city. You look at the machine, which features a glass window showing the colorful rows of gum inside. The colors are bright and tempting. A little bit of joy in a world of gray stone and brown wood. You find the slot, which is surrounded by polished brass that catches the flickering light of a nearby gas lamp. You slide the penny in. The sound is different here. It is a quick, efficient snip as the coin enters the mechanism, followed by the soft, rhythmic whirring of a small internal clockwork. Inside the machine, your penny has fallen onto a small, balanced arm that acts like a gatekeeper. Because the penny is the exact weight required, it pushes the arm down, releasing a spring-loaded slider. As you pull a small metal handle at the front, you feel the resistance of the spring, a firm and steady pull that speaks of high-quality American steel. With a satisfying, muffled thud, a single stick of tutte, frotty gum drops into the delivery tray. You pick it up, feeling the waxy texture of the paper wrapper and the faint, sweet scent of artificial fruit and wintergreen. It is a tiny modern luxury, a mechanical reward for your single cent. Historians still argue whether the extreme success of the American vending machine was due to the cleverness of the machines themselves, or if it was simply the result of a brilliant marketing campaign that turned the penny into a magic key for the masses. In a city where everything was becoming more expensive and more complicated, the idea that a single penny could still buy a moment of pleasure was incredibly powerful. You lean against a wooden pillar, watching the next train approach, and you slowly unwrap the gum. The scent is stronger now, a nostalgic and comforting aroma that fills your senses and makes the cold wind feel a little bit softer. You realize that you are standing at the beginning of a revolution, a time when the machine is no longer just a tool, but a source of delight. As the years move forward, the light on the platform seems to brighten, turning from the flickering orange of gas to the steady, buzzing glow of early electricity. You feel the world around you expanding, the buildings growing taller and the machines becoming more ambitious. You find yourself walking away from the elevated tracks and toward the bright, theater-lit streets of Times Square in the early 1900s. The air here is thick with the smell of roasted peanuts and the ozone of the new electric subways. You are heading toward a place that will change the way humans think about food forever. You see a sign made of hundreds of glowing light bulbs, spelling out a name that sounds like a mechanical lullaby, the Automat. You push through a heavy revolving door, and the transition is like stepping into a dream of the future. The room is vast and lined with white marble, and the air is warm and smells of freshly brewed coffee and hot apple pie. But there are no waiters here, and no menace. Instead, the walls are covered from floor to ceiling in small, glass-fronted windows, each one framed in polished brass and glowing with an internal light. It is a temple of glass and chrome, a Nickelodeon of food. You see rows of sandwiches, pieces of cake, and bowls of soup, each one sitting behind its own little door like a prize in a museum. It is the horn and hard art automat, and it is the peak of the vending machine's evolution. You find a nickel in your palm, a thick and silver, colored coin that feels like a serious piece of currency. In this era, the nickel is the king of the city, the 1900s version of a Bitcoin. Everyone wants it, and it seems to have the power to buy almost anything. You walk along the wall of food, your eyes moving from the creamy macaroni and cheese to the dark, rich chocolate pudding. The choice is overwhelming, but in a way that feels liberating. You choose a window containing a slice of lemon meringue pie, the yellow filling looking bright and cheerful behind the glass. You find the coin slot next to the window, a small, dark opening that promises a delicious mystery. You drop the nickel in. The sound is a clear, musical ding, followed by the heavy, rhythmic clicking of a series of internal tumblers. This is a much more complex machine than the gum dispenser. It uses a series of rotating drums and gravity-fed shelves, all synchronized by a central mechanical brain. You turn the brass knob on the door. It moves with a smooth, buttery resistance, and then the latch releases with a soft, metallic clack. You lift the glass door, and the scent of the pie hits you, a mix of tart citrus and sweet, toasted sugar. You reach in and slide the plate out, the ceramic feeling cool and heavy in your hands. A quirky tidbit that many people don't know is that behind those walls of glass, there was a hidden world of human activity. While the customers saw only the silent, magical machines, there were actually hundreds of workers on the other side, quickly refilling the slots as soon as a door was closed. It was a perfect blend of human labor and mechanical delivery, a high-tech experience that was actually powered by people in white aprons. You imagine the workers back there, moving with a practiced, rhythmic grace, their hands a blur as they slid plates of ham and eggs into the empty spaces. It was the first time humans realized that eating could be a sport, a fast-paced game of coins and chrome. You find a small, round table with a marble top and sit down, the chair scraping softly on the tiled floor. The automat is filled with the low, steady hum of hundreds of people, a sound that is as soothing as the distant roar of a waterfall. You see bankers sitting next to laborers and actors sitting next to students. The machine is a great equalizer. It doesn't care who you are, as long as you have a nickel. It is a world of anonymous dining, a place where you can be alone in a crowd, lost in the quiet logic of the machine. You take a bite of the pie, the flavor exploding on your tongue, and you feel a deep sense of contentment. The world is changing, but some things, like the joy of a good meal, are timeless. The mainstream historical fact of the matter is that the first automat opened in Philadelphia in 1902, but it was the New York locations that became global icons. They were the first fast food restaurants, long before the era of drive, thrusts and plastic toys. They represented a new kind of urban life, one that was fast, efficient, and slightly magical. You think about the engineering required to keep thousands of little glass doors working perfectly, day after day. The springs had to be tempered just right, and the brass had to be polished until it reflected the faces of the hungry crowds. It was a massive undertaking of maintenance and design, a testament to the American obsession with perfection. As you finish your pie, you watch a man walk up to the coffee dolphin. This is a magnificent brass spout shaped like a stylized sea creature. He drops a nickel into a slot on the wall, and a steady stream of hot, dark coffee pours out of the dolphin's mouth and into his cup. The sound of the liquid hitting the porcelain is a rhythmic, splashing noise that adds to the symphony of the room. The coffee is topped with a thick, natural cream, and the steam rises in a slow, elegant curl toward the high ceiling. You imagine the heat of the cup warming his hands on this cold New York day. The automat wasn't just a place to eat. It was a sanctuary, a warm and brightly lit harbor in the middle of a busy city. Your eyes are starting to grow heavy as you watch the light reflect off the polished marble and the brass frames. The atmosphere in the automat is surprisingly calm, despite the number of people. There is a sense of order and respect for the mechanism that keeps everyone quiet and focused. You think about how these machines were marketed as germ-proof and untouched by human hands, a major selling point in an era when people were becoming more aware of public health. The glass doors were a shield against the chaos of the world, a way to ensure that your food was yours and yours alone. You find a certain comfort in that idea, the thought that a machine can provide a sense of safety and purity. The history of the vending machine is now entering its most colorful phase. Soon, the marble and brass will be replaced by painted steel and neon lights. The machines will start selling colorful sodas in glass bottles, and the quiet click of the tumblers will be replaced by the loud, electric hum of refrigeration. But for now, in this moment in the early 1900s, there is a perfect balance between the mechanical and the human. You feel the weight of the era, a time of transition where anything seems possible. You take a slow, deep breath, the warm air of the automat filling your lungs with the scent of coffee and vanilla. You think about the tutti-frutti gum again and how it was originally marketed as a way to clean your teeth and curb your nervous energy. It was a health product disguised as a treat. Everything in the world of vending seems to have a double purpose: convenience and control, pleasure and order. You realize that the machine is a reflection of our own desires to be better, faster, and more efficient. We are all just looking for a way to get what we want without the friction of human interaction. The vending machine is the ultimate introvert's tool, a silent friend that always has exactly what you need. A quirky detail that historians often debate is the social impact of the automat. Some say it destroyed the traditional table talk of the American dinner, while others argue it created a new kind of community where people from all walks of life shared the same space. You see it as both. It is a place of solitude, but also a place of shared experience. You are all part of the same mechanical ritual, all dropping your nickels and turning your knobs in a synchronized dance. It is a beautiful, rhythmic movement that makes the city feel like one giant, living organism. You feel a sense of peace with that thought, a feeling that you are a part of something much larger than yourself. The light in the automat is beginning to soften as the evening moves toward night. The crowds are thinning out, and the sound of the clicking doors is becoming more sporadic, like the last few drops of a rainstorm. You feel a wave of sleepiness wash over you, the warmth of the room, and the steady hum of the machines making your eyelids feel like lead. You think about the journey of the gear and the lever, from the quiet temples of Egypt to the bustling stations of London, and now to the marble halls of New York. It is a story of adaptation, of how a simple idea can change its shape to fit the needs of a new time and a new place. You imagine yourself as a traveler in this new century, having just finished your first meal from a machine. You feel a sense of wonder at the technology, a feeling that you have just seen a glimpse of the future. You think about the millions of nickels that will pass through these machines, each one a tiny heartbeat in the life of the city. The automat is a monument to human ingenuity, a place where the impossible becomes everyday. You let your head rest against the cool marble of the table for just a moment, listening to the distant, muffled sound of a streetcar passing by outside. The world is steady and solid, and you are safe in its embrace. As you drift toward the edge of sleep, the images of the glass windows and the brass dolphins become hazy and dreamlike. You can still taste the sweetness of the pie and feel the warmth of the coffee in your mind. The history of the vending machine is a long and winding road, but you have found a perfect place to rest for a while. The machines will continue to work through the night, their internal lights glowing like small, earthbound stars. They don't need to sleep, and they don't need to dream. They just wait, patient and silent, for the next nickel and the next hungry soul. You think about the evolution of the snack. Before the vending machine, people didn't really snack in the way we do now. You ate meals at set times. But the machine changed that, making food available at any hour of the day or night. It created a new rhythm for human life, a more flexible and individual way of living. You find a certain freedom in that, a sense that we are no longer bound by the old rules of the clock. We are the masters of our own time, or at least the masters of our own hunger. You smile at the thought, feeling a light sense of irony. We have gained our freedom, but we have given it to a machine in exchange for a piece of gum. The darkness outside is deep now, and the city is glowing with the light of 1,000,000 electric bulbs. You feel the vibration of the subways deep beneath the ground, a rhythmic throb that is like the heartbeat of the earth itself. You are part of that heartbeat, a single gear in a massive, glowing clock. The Automat is a quiet island in the middle of the storm, a place where time slows down and everything is in its right place. You let your breathing become slow and steady, each breath a long, easy movement that follows the rhythm of the room. You are ready to let go of the nickel and the glass door and to sink into the soft, welcoming dark of the night. The history of the vending machine is almost complete, but there is still one more section to explore. The world is moving toward the modern age, toward the glowing screens and the plastic buttons. But that is a story for later. Right now, there is only the peace of the Automat and the soft, steady hum of the electric lights. You are safe, you are warm, and the city is watching over you. Sleep now and let the sounds of New York in the 1900s carry you away. The pies are sold, the coffee is poured, and the world is at rest. You are a traveler in time, and tonight you have found a place of glass and chrome to call your home. As you fall into the final embrace of the night, you think one last time about Thomas Adams and his green gum machine. You think about how a small piece of tutte, fruity gum started a revolution. You think about the simple beauty of a spring and a nickel. It is a reminder that even the most complex systems start with a single, sweet thought. You feel that sweetness in your own mind, a stillness that is absolute and soothing. The Automat is quiet, the dolphins are still, and the world is at rest. You are safe, you are warm, and the history of the world is a long, slow song that is singing you to sleep. Just breathe, just drift, just be. The marble floors of the Automat and the warm smell of lemon meringue pie begin to dissolve into a cool, blue, toned world of neon lights and humming electricity. You feel the heavy, solid brass of the early century being replaced by the smooth, cool surfaces of brushed steel and molded plastic. The air is no longer thick with coal smoke or the scent of freshly baked bread. It is clean and filtered, with a faint, sharp tang of ozone and the subtle, metallic smell of a refrigerated cooling unit. You are moving through the mid-20th century and into the present day, following the vending machine as it transforms from a mechanical curiosity into a ubiquitous, glowing companion of the modern night. The transition is smooth and quiet, like a train gliding over a newly paved track. You find yourself standing in a quiet, brightly lit corridor of a 1950s airport, or perhaps a lonely gas station on a long, dark highway. The world has become faster, and the machines have kept pace, trading their ornate Victorian dresses for the sleek, aerodynamic lines of the space age. You look at a tall, rectangular machine standing against the wall. It is painted a bold, glossy white, with a large, glass front that reveals rows of brightly colored soda bottles nestled in a bath of icy water. This is the 1930s and 40s boom of the refrigerated vending machine, a mainstream historical fact that changed the way the world stayed cool. Companies like Ventilator and Vendo began to produce these machines in the thousands, ensuring that no matter where you were, a cold drink was only a nickel and a pull of a handle away. You probably believe that vending machines were always a bit of a gamble, a mechanical lottery where the prize was sometimes stuck behind a glass wall. But in this era, the machine was a symbol of reliability and luxury, a little piece of the future that had arrived early. You reach out and touch the cold metal of the machine, feeling the slight vibration of the compressor as it works to keep the world chilled. You find a nickel in your pocket, a small and familiar weight that feels like a promise. You slide it into the slot, and the sound is a satisfying, metallic click that echoes in the quiet hall. You pull a heavy chrome handle, and you can feel the internal gears moving with a precision that would have made Hero of Alexandria proud. A glass bottle of soda slides into the delivery, opening with a dull, muffled thud. You reach in and pull it out, the glass feeling impossibly cold and wet against your palm. Tiny beads of condensation run down the side of the bottle, and for a moment, you feel a deep sense of connection to all the travelers who have stood in this exact spot, looking for a moment of refreshment. You realize that the vending machine is the ultimate witness to our small, everyday struggles and our quiet victories. It doesn't judge you for needing a sugary drink at 3 in the morning. It just provides, silent and steady. As you walk through the shifting landscape of the 20th century, the machines begin to multiply and diversify in ways that are both impressive and slightly absurd. You pass a machine that dispenses hot coffee into a paper cup, another that offers fresh, chilled milk, and even one that sells individual pieces of fruit. In the 1950s, there was a quirky tidbit of history that saw vending machines appearing in airports to sell life insurance policies to nervous passengers. For a few coins, the machine would print out a policy that would pay out to your family if your plane didn't make it to its destination. It was the ultimate peace of mind dispenser, though one has to wonder if seeing a machine like that right before boarding a flight made people feel better or considerably worse. You imagine the travelers of the time, dressed in their finest suits and hats, dropping a coin into a machine and receiving a legal document in exchange. It was a world where everything could be automated, even our fears and our futures. Historians still argue whether the true peak of vending technology was the introduction of the digital touchscreen, or if the humble mechanical coin slide was actually the pinnacle of reliability and human-machine interaction. There is something to be said for the feeling of a physical lever, the way you could feel the machine responding to your touch. Modern machines, with their glowing buttons and silent sensors, feel a bit more distant, like they are thinking about something else while they serve you. You find yourself standing in a modern office building late at night, the only light coming from the large, glowing face of a glass-fronted vending machine. The room is silent except for the soft, rhythmic hum of the machine's cooling fan, a sound that is as steady as a heartbeat. You see the reflections of the neon lights in the polished floor, creating a landscape of blue and green that feels like a scene from a science fiction movie. You think about the callbacks to the past, the way the modern snack machine is just a more complicated version of the tobacco box in the English tavern or the holy water vessel in Alexandria. The spiral metal arms that hold the bags of chips are like the modern version of Hero's balance beams. You watch as a person walks up to the machine, taps a credit card against a small, glowing sensor, and presses a series of buttons. There is no coin, no clink, and no heavy pull of a lever. The machine thinks for a fraction of a second, and then one of the metal spirals begins to turn with a soft, whirring sound. A bag of pretzels tips forward, hangs for a heart, stopping second on the edge, and then falls into the bin below. It is a small, quiet drama played out in a theater of plastic and light. If you think your life is stressful, try being a bag of pretzels waiting for your turn to fall. It's a high-stakes existence where the only exit is a vertical drop. You realize that we have entered the era of the smart machine, where the vending machine knows your name, remembers your preferences, and might even try to give you nutritional advice you didn't ask for. It's the kind of technology that makes you feel both cared for and slightly watched, like having a very efficient but somewhat judgmental butler. You imagine a future where the machine greets you with a friendly, synthetic voice and asks how your day was before it gives you your granola bar. It is a far cry from the silent bronze vessel in the temple, but the core of the experience remains the same: a desire for convenience and a moment of quiet exchange. You find a light sense of irony in the fact that after 2,000 years of engineering, we are still using machines to buy things we probably don't need but definitely want. As you walk through the modern world, you think about the incredible variety of vending machines in places like Japan, where they are a central part of the culture. You can find machines that sell warm bowls of noodles, fresh eggs, umbrellas, and even small potted plants. There are even machines that sell single, perfectly ripe bananas, which seems like a lot of technology for a piece of fruit that already comes in its own biodegradable wrapper. You smile at the thought, feeling a sense of playfulness in the way humans have adapted this technology. We are a creative species, always looking for new ways to automate the mundane parts of our lives. The vending machine has become a canvas for our ingenuity, and our eccentricities, a mirror of our ever-changing needs. The air in the modern corridor is still and cool, and you feel a wave of relaxation wash over you as you listen to the steady hum of the machines. They are the silent sentinels of our world, the keepers of the night who never sleep and never grow tired. You think about the millions of people who are interacting with a vending machine at this very moment, all of them part of a global network of commerce and convenience. It is a comforting thought, a feeling of being connected to a vast, invisible system that works exactly as it should. You take a slow, deep breath, feeling the air fill your lungs, and then leave them with a soft sigh. The world is a complex place, but in front of a vending machine, everything becomes simple: a choice, a payment, and a reward. Your eyes are starting to grow heavy as the bright lights of the modern age begin to soften and blur. You think about the journey you have taken, from the dusty streets of Alexandria to the foggy alleys of London, and finally to this quiet, glowing hallway. You have seen the evolution of an idea, a story of how humans have always sought to make their lives a little bit easier and a little bit more magical. The vending machine is more than just a box of snacks. It is a testament to our curiosity, our creativity, and our endless quest for balance. You feel a deep sense of peace with that thought, a feeling that you have witnessed something truly remarkable. The machines will continue to hum and glow long after you have fallen asleep, their internal gears and sensors waiting for the next person to come along. The history of the vending machine is a lullaby of gears and coins, a slow and rhythmic tale that has carried you across the centuries. You have seen the holy water flow, the tobacco boxes click, the books drop into hidden bins, and the gum machines offer their sweet rewards. You have stood on railway platforms and in marble automats, and now you are here, at the edge of the future. The story is complete, and the world is ready for you to rest. You feel the weight of your own body, a pleasant and heavy feeling that says you are done for the night. You have walked through time, and now it is time to be still. The darkness is warm and soft, a deep blue space where you can let the world drift away. As you prepare to close your eyes, you think one last time about the "out of order" sign. It is the one thing that has never changed, a universal symbol of a machine that has decided it needs a break. You find a certain comfort in that, a reminder that even the most perfect systems are human at their core. We all need to stop sometimes to reset and recharge. You are doing that now, letting your mind and your body go quiet. The history of the world is a very long book, but you have finished your chapter for today. You are safe, you are warm, and the machines are watching over the world for you. The hum of the cooling fan is a soothing, steady sound that makes you want to sink into the softest bed imaginable. You imagine yourself in a room where the only light is the faint, blue glow of a machine in the distance. The bed is cool and smooth, and the blankets are light and airy. You feel yourself floating on a sea of quiet, the sounds of the modern world fading into a single, distant pulse. You are a traveler who has reached their destination, a seeker who has found what they were looking for. The story of the first vending machine is a part of you now, a quiet piece of history that you can carry into your dreams. You are ready to let the night take over, to let the shadows wrap themselves around you like a soft, velvet cloak. Sleep now, and let the quiet hum of the sleeping world carry you away. The machines are still, the neon is soft, and the world is at peace. You have done the work of traveling through time, and now you can enjoy the reward of a deep and restful sleep. Your breathing is slow and steady, a rhythmic movement that matches the pulse of the glowing city outside. You are part of the grand design, a single gear in a massive, beautiful clock that is turning slowly toward the morning. But the morning is a long way off, and for now, there is only the dark and the stars and the soft, steady heartbeat of history. You are home, you are safe, and the journey is done. Just breathe, just drift, just be. The world is growing quieter and softer, the edges of the room blurring into a gentle, hazy dream. You can no longer feel the cold metal of the machine or the weight of the coin in your hand. There is only the sensation of floating, of being carried along by a slow and steady current. You are moving through the quiet corridors of time, where the gears are made of starlight and the rewards are made of dreams. You feel a sense of profound contentment, a feeling that everything is exactly as it should be. The story of the vending machine has brought you to a place of rest, and you are ready to stay here for a while. You think one last time about the bronze coin and the holy water. It all started with a simple drop of water and a clever idea. It ends with a glowing machine and a quiet room. The cycle is complete. The balance is perfect, and the world is at rest. You are a part of that balance, a part of that peace. You are safe, you are warm, and the history of the world is a long, slow song that is singing you to sleep. Just breathe, just drift, just be. The machines will be there in the morning, but for now, they are just a soft hum in the background of your dreams. Sleep now, traveler, and let the world turn without you. The air is cool, the light is dim, and your heart is calm. You are ready for the final descent into the quiet. You feel the weight of the day leaving you, your muscles relaxing one by one. The story is over, the gears have stopped turning, and the night is yours. You are floating on a sea of history, moving slowly toward the horizon of sleep. The journey has been long, but the destination is beautiful. You are home, you are safe, and the world is waiting for you to dream. The end of the section is near, and the silence of the night is absolute. Just breathe. Just drift. Just be. Now, as the final thoughts of the day begin to fade, let the rhythm of your own heart be your guide. Imagine the world as a giant mechanism that is slowly winding down for the night. The stars are the jewels in the watch, and the moon is the silver weight that keeps the balance. You are a part of this great, celestial machine, perfectly positioned and perfectly still. The sounds of the city, the hum of the cooling fans, and the distant echoes of history are all blending into one single, soothing note. It is the note of the world at rest, the sound of a story that has reached its end. Feel the softness of the air against your skin and the warmth of the blankets around you. You are in a safe place, a place where time has no meaning, and the only thing that matters is the quiet peace of the present moment. The vending machines, the temples, the taverns, and the railway stations are all just shadows now, fading into the soft, gray mist of the past. You have traveled far, and you have seen much, but now you have returned to the most important place of all, the quiet center of your own soul. Let yourself sink deeper into the pillow, letting go of the last few sparks of consciousness. The world is dark, the lights are low, and the story is finished. You have found the secret of the machine, which is that it only works when you are willing to give something of yourself. You have given your time and your attention, and in return, the machine has given you a journey through the ages. It is a fair exchange, a moment of perfect balance. You are ready to let the final curtain fall and to drift away into the long, peaceful night. The history of the vending machine is a beautiful, mechanical dream, and you are the one who gets to dream it. Sleep now, and let the quiet hum of the universe be your lullaby. The night has fully settled now, and the world outside is a distant memory, a soft blur of shadows and silence. You have traveled from the sun-drenched marble of Alexandria to the neon lit corridors of the modern day, following the steady, rhythmic pulse of human ingenuity. The gears have turned, the coins have fallen, and the mechanical servants have done their work. Now, it is your turn to do yours. Let your breath slow to a long, easy rhythm, feeling the cool air enter your body and the warmth of relaxation spread through your limbs. Your mind is like a quiet library at midnight, the books closed and the lamps dimmed, with only the faint, comforting smell of old paper and wood lingering in the air. There is no rush to wake, no deadline to meet, and no noise to disturb your peace. You are floating on a calm, dark ocean of history, moving slowly with the tide toward a place of absolute stillness. The images of the day, the bronze vessels, the brass tobacco boxes, the red iron pillars, and the glowing glass doors, are all dissolving into the soft, dark velvet of sleep. You are safe, you are warm, and you are deeply, profoundly tired. The world is being looked after by the silent sentinels of the night, and you can let go of everything, knowing that the morning will come in its own time. For now, there is only the quiet, the dark, and the soft, steady heartbeat of the universe. Close your eyes. Let your thoughts drift away like autumn leaves on a gentle stream, and sink into the beautiful, healing depths of a restful sleep. You have earned this moment of peace, this quiet space in the long story of the world. Sleep now, and let the dreams of the past and the future carry you gently away.